APPNA Communications Cafe series. Our guest today is Dr. Farooq Malik, who is the chair for APPNA Finance Committee. Thank you, Dr. Malik, for joining us. Can you
Thank you.
yeah, can you briefly share your journey with APPNA and what led you to chair the Finance Committee?
Thank you, Nauman, and thank you for this opportunity. Um, my journey is for the last 20 years, and into the finance committee is by default. Being the treasurer of this organization, it automatically gives you the opportunity to chair the finance committee. In my view, the role uh, in the presence of finance committee at the council level is duplicate, and at some point it may require further clarification where the finance committee actually have to function as such. Before I go into detail, I wanted to clarify for the audience the finance structure of the APPNA and its requirements, so that once you know exactly what is needed, then perhaps the need for a committee can be addressed, if that's okay with you.
Yes, please go ahead.
So APPNA is a non-profit organization. The non-profit organization finance structure is entirely based on year-to-year finance neutrality. What I mean by that is that your year starts from January and then it ends on December 31st. Whatever money is collected or made by the organization has to be spent on various projects of the organization. There is no carry forward, which means every year we start our budget from zero and then build it up and spend it throughout the year. And at the end of the year, we have to be zero, so there is no profit and hence there is no taxation. Having said that, our needs are entirely office based. We also have some needs based on insurances and attorney costs and some contractual arrangement with a couple of outside employees. But that need can is being fulfilled currently by annual members as well as some international and domestic meetings. The last point I wanted to make was that our extra money that is available at the end of the year, APPNA has no clear-cut mandate or program to invest that money. So far what has happened is that at the end of the year, the extra money, which is between $200,000 to $300,000, sometime more, is empirically allocated to some project run by the president in her alma mater or somewhere, and the money is sent outside of United States to Pakistan for financing some projects, which at the end of the year the money is sent out, but there is no follow through as to whatever happened to that money. So that is an outline of how we function, and based on that outline, with the current QuickBook scenarios available, all input and resource output is very well tabulated.
Thank you, Dr. Malik, for giving
I'm
the
going to stop here.
yeah. And we can now break it apart and get some information out of that for the audience. So the first introductory comment that you made about the confusion. So if you can clarify the roles of Finance Committee and the Financial Compliance Committee, because that's a council appointment, and we have two committees. So do they overlap in some functioning, or they have separate mandate?
So far, it appears that the Finance Committee is a board-appointed committee, whereas Finance Compliance Committee is a council-elected committee. The Finance Compliance Committee has a separate oversight, and they are mandated to request information from every aspect of APPNA financial equation. Um, and the finance committee by the board of directors is a non-elected but an appointed committee, and that committee works to oversee some of the mundane activities, I would say, as to budget evaluation, revenue generation, but does not have the mandate for making any impact on some of the important, such as finance allocation at the end of the year or investment strategies.
Okay. And you touched upon the some of the budgetary issues. Can we talk about APNA's financial health? How are we doing, and how is the money allocated? Because I understand there are certain funds, there are endowment funds, there's operational budget. So how is it divided, and how is APNA doing in terms of financially?
So, APNA's finance stream is primarily two. One is from the annual members, and the second is from the various meetings that APNA conducts. The APNA member dues are yearly dues. The annual dues come to APNA's budget for the year, whereas the lifetime dues are allocated to the endowment fund. The current endowment fund is quite healthy. However, based on our mandate, that endowment fund is um, secure and cannot be used for any purposes unless there are serious catastrophic issues at hand. That endowment fund is currently in excess of $2 million and probably has gone further since we had additional lifetime members. That endowment fund is invested, and current investments are generating at a very conservative to moderate portfolio to the tune of 8 to 10%, which is by design. The annual budget that we need for the office is around $500,000, and that includes the office salaries, their taxes, the utilities, insurances, attorney charges, and some other miscellaneous issues. And we are, for the last several years, have been able to generate in excess of $500,000 for the last 2 or 3 years. So for overall, we are in a rather financially strong position. We are able to pay back our COVID loans, and hopefully by the end of this year, we would have vacated that loan.
Great. And we always talk about APNA has 10 million in the endowment fund, and as you said that there are about 2 to 3 million. So I think that the rest of the seven is probably alumni money in the scholarship accounts that is
That
lumped together into, yeah.
that is correct. The rest of the endowments are also in various committees, alumni, and so on and so forth, and those are just being fiduciary managed under the APNA account. However, their distribution is not in our control.
Right. So one of the things you said, what finance committee's mandate is to come up with the budget at the start of the year. How do you approach budgeting across various programs and chapters? What is the mechanism that your committee uses?
So we have historical data as to how much we generate from various regional meetings, and then that historical data tells us that each of these smaller meetings generates, say, $50,000 of profit. Based on available resources, we have two contractual employees that give us information as to availability of hotels, costs involved. However, most of this decision making is done by chair of the host committee, the budget ideally should be generated by the host committee in collaboration with the finance committee as well as the contractual help. However, it is quite difficult for the host committee to come up in the first 3 months, not only to take this huge responsibility to conduct a meeting, but also have a full understanding of various costs involved. So traditionally, what we do is we try to create a budget based on historical values and present that to the board of directors and to the FCC. Um, Currently, the mandate is 60 days before the meeting, which is ironically not possible to do since the new committee is coming in January and have not had their feet wet before they're able to generate a budget for a meeting coming up in March, April.
So with that, would you recommend that there should be maybe for like say the strategy meeting, at least the budget should be done a year prior by the team that is sitting there rather than putting it onto the team that's coming in?
I think the suggestion is that if the incoming president is well aware of this issue, then we should present a historical value based budget for the upcoming meeting. For example, this year meeting, the spring meeting, is in Pakistan.
Right.
There is absolutely no historical data available for that meeting. So it's not possible to generate a budget for that meeting ahead of time unless the president now is thinking about all the programs and have a rough estimate. So there'll be an issue come January to present a budget for a meeting coming up in March, which the budget has to be presented on January 25th or before.
Right.
And the strategic meeting is in later part of January. It's a pretty tight schedule.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely. What systems are in place to ensure transparency in APPNA's financial operations?
Um, so currently, as of last year, we have moved on to QuickBooks, and the QuickBooks have automatic tally in which um, every revenue receipt coming in and every revenue expense going out is tabulated automatically. So going forward, as of September last year, we have this system in place. We have an outside accountant that gets the information on a weekly basis. We are current on a month to month basis. We know exactly how much money came in and from where, and we know exactly how much money went out and what's the tally in the bank at the end of the month. That has that is available to our members who are interested. Most members have not enough understanding that this is a dynamic ledger, which means that there are always accounts receivable and there are always accounts expendable, and hence at one point you cannot have a picture. That's why a monthly and quarterly input and output are easily understood.
Great. And uh, I wanted to ask about the audits a little bit. How does the committee handle audits and financial reporting? You talked about QuickBooks, but is there also, because we know there's an annual audit that's the bylaws requirement, are there other specific audits as well that can happen?
By law in the state of Illinois, APPNA has to have a yearly audit. We have been doing it on a yearly basis, except for a couple of years of lapses in 2020 and 2021. In my view, that those stems from not adequate understanding of nonprofits and some personal political issues that have come up. I think as an organization, we should keep in mind that despite our personal differences, the organization has to be run according to bylaws and according to the guidelines of state and federal revenue resources and oversight committees such as IRS. Going forward, we are conducting our audit this year. On the average for the members, it costs $25,000 to run by a third party audit. And uh, last year's audit is being conducted. As of now, we should be able to complete it in reasonable time. The issue was the first 9 months of last year when we had different accountants and we did not had access to a good reporting system, and those issues are being addressed. However, going forward as of September last year, we should have no issue for audit for 2025.
Are we at a point where we need an in-house accountant, or you think our relationship with our CPR accountant is pretty good? As you said, they're getting the reports weekly, and how's your relationship with them? How frequently you are in touch with them?
So I stay in touch with the accountant almost twice a month, sometimes more. The issue is that we have several accounts. We have in excess of 10, 12 accounts under APPNA's ID. Almost every alumni, every social committee that we have their accounts, and those become quite taxing to keep a track of it. It would be very helpful if we spend more money and distribute the this and have more money and have a full-time in-house accountant and pay this accountant based on how much, but based on a prorated um, salary, so that some of his money comes from APPNA, some of his salary comes from individual alumni, so that we can have a comprehensive account on a regular basis. Currently, this accountant is doing a wonderful job for the APPNA, but I think some of the constituent alumni still have some outside help to help their finances.
Thank you. Yeah. In your opinion, what are some of the challenges, especially financial challenges, that APNA has faced recently? Any challenges that you had to deal with this year?
No, I think we've been very good. I think there are always issues that there are some issues between the various component of the APPNA organization. The FCC, appointed by council, seems to be independent, and they are quite aggressive in asking for documents and papers. Rightly so. However, they seem to not understand that this organization is limited by the by full-time employees, and is also impacted by volunteer nature of its committees and its office bearers. There are always committees going on, always meetings going on, almost every month, sometimes two meetings in a month. And some of the staff is very busy with that. And almost every member can reach out to NICSU and request anything. This never happens in any organization except here. Every chair, every committee member, even annual member, they just reach out, put a call through it, and say, I need this. And so one person, which is NICSU, our chief operating officer, that person is not able to get to each and every request.
Right.
So I would encourage our members to maybe go to website, get the information before sending out an email and requesting information. Maybe reach out to the office bearers for clarification. Maybe reach out to the chair of host committee for clarification. And I think it would be helpful for APPNA office bearers to realize that perhaps time has come for us to have another executive in the office, a full-time executive that can designate and divide the working of the organization according to the four pillars, which is membership, finance, sponsorship, and compliance. And I think those issues will be very helpful going forward.
That is an excellent point. And as you said initially in your initial remarks, that at the end of the year, there's always a surplus of 200, 300,000 that we don't know where to go. And they are up to the president to decide. Maybe board should look into hiring someone or beefing up our administrative staff and utilizing that money. So that may be something you guys can look into.
I think that's a wonderful insight. Maybe that's what the strategic meeting should be all about.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have made the strategic meeting as another meeting of all the chairs and stuff to get together.
Right.
I think the strategic meeting should be reserved for strategy sessions and should only include the office bearers, the host committee chairs, and some of the important committee chairs, so that they can sit down and may have a professional sessions from accountant, from a sponsorship section, from compliance, as well as an overview of a nonprofit, and then based on the previous several years of experiences, they should be able to understand the challenges for their year. So I think the strategic session should become a strategic session as opposed to another APPNA meeting.
Right. No, totally agree. Um, what financial goals do you hope APPNA achieves in the next 3 to 5 years? Anything that you gonna hand over, sign out to the next person?
I have a little white paper that I'll pass on to my my partner, whoever is going to be the treasurer and finance chair. I think the white paper is more of an education. I think going forward, as I mentioned, we do not need a lot of money. The effort to generate 10 meetings in a year is not needed. I think if we can just stick to the three, 4 meetings per year, and maybe 2 or 3 international meetings, um, that would be suffice to generate the money we need, unless we all agree that we need a really strong project. And and my suggestion to them is come up with a strong project. For example, for example, a resource based project in which we achieve our financial independence from member dues, so that we have a parallel stream of income from, say, from, for example, say we have a couple of rental buildings or office state buildings that we can utilize, and so that our members can be rewarded for their membership rather than being charged for expensive tickets at these meetings. So that is few suggestions I'll pass on to my counterpart.
Great. And since you mentioned a rental building, I remember when Dr. Durrani was the president, they started some sort of a fund, sort of a presidential fund. At the end of the year, every president is putting some money into that fund to buy a rental building. Can you give us an update on it, where we are at?
Yes, so I think we are close to $500,000, and thank you to the previous presidents for that foresight. I think Dr. Hamara Kamar, our current president, taking that initiative, has appointed a subcommittee, which includes Dr. Durrani and 2 other former presidents, to start a process to evaluate for availability of a building in Chicago, so that we can acquire that, develop that, and maybe use it as a resource center to offset some of the costs that we have in the office.
Yeah. So I think I pretty much had those questions. I believe that we've covered most of it. In the end, I want to ask, especially our younger members, we have a group where there are lots of young members, graduates of post 2000, and there are some that are not members, but they are thinking of becoming members. So they keep asking from different committees, how can they get involved in different committees? So for your finance committee, if they want to get involved, what is the procedure for that?
There's no procedure. If they can send me their interest. I'll be more than happy for them to be part of this committee going forward. Or we can send it to the president, Dr. Rao, who's coming up. Show them your interest. It's a volunteer work. If you step up, I see no reason that you won't be encouraged. Most important part is volunteer, but be prepared to volunteer. Having a name in the committee is not enough. You should do your homework, prepare what's up, and bring some ideas, and you will be surprised that those ideas are welcome so strongly.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Dr. Malik. It's great. Thank you for giving us the time and covering all the questions from the finance committee side. Thank you,
I
Dr.
appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much for your initiative and conducting these important activities.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Take care.
Alaikum assalam.